Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the 18th session of Headless Development User Group for Sitecore. Today we have two speakers here. We have Mr. Kautilya Prasad, who will tell us about real-time pricing and inventory management in a headless e-commerce setup. And I will be the second presenter for today. We'll show you the foundation for new and shiny Sitecore Marketplace, not the one that you used to do packages from, but the one that is Cloud Marketplace that is integrated inside our Cloud Portal. And I will show you a couple Marketplace application in action. So hopefully you'll get something new after this session. And here we start. Kautilya, it's all yours.
All right. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Let me start sharing and let me know when you can see the presentation.
Okay.
All right. All right. So today I'm going to talk about a recent project that I've been working on, and it's been evolving. Like we start with uh, phase one, then go to phase two, phase three, phase four ultimately. And there's a bit of pattern I'm seeing in a lot of e-commerce projects I've been working on. Pricing is one of the most important thing on the website along with inventory because that's the key factor whether someone decides if they want to purchase or not. Then comes the feedback, reviews, and inventory. So pricing is first and foremost what the customer notices about the product on the website. And there are a lot of things involved in getting the pricing right on the website. It's not just one field. Most of the times you see one pricing on the website for a product, but it's not just one field driving that. There's so many things like surcharges, discounts, and then if you're in the EU, you have to show with the VAT included as well. And sometimes there are offers like Halloween sales or special discounts, promo codes. A lot of things go in the backend. And this is where I want to talk about how how I implemented in a recent project. What were the cons and pros of it, and what could have been done better, things like that. First of all, like what is a real-time pricing? Is everyone when we start a project, people say yes, we want real-time pricing, but with, between real-time pricing and near real-time pricing, there's a lot of cost. So is the business okay with near real time? Near real time could be anything could be between like a minute to 5 minutes. Are they okay with that? Or they really want that whenever the owner of a system that has the price changes a price, it should appear within sub seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds. So as you narrow down this requirement, your architecture changes. Some are okay with, yeah, it could be in an hour because they don't have bulk changes. They have they have workflow established that take care of any sudden changes. Some have a requirement that say, no, it needs to go right away, like maybe in maximum of 1 minute. Some are okay with 5 minutes. So that's a very important factor when you start a project, e-commerce project, to establish these metrics. And it's okay that it starts with near real time and then moves on to real time eventually. So that's a common pattern I've seen. Like people start with near real time, could be 5 minutes, and then it goes to like 10, like maybe like 1 minute, and then goes from 1 minute to 30 seconds. So there's a lot involved here, which I want to talk today. But first, let's see, like on the website, for those who are not familiar with e-commerce, where does the pricing show? One is on the details page where you see this pricing showing up. All right. Along this pricing, you have inventory information, like where do you want to pick it up from? And uh, and there are other things here like how soon it will be ready, which we'll talk later. But in this session, I'm talking about inventory and the price. So there's one place you see price and inventory. Now, there are other places like they have a widget where you show a lot of, it's a range of price here and there's some price, but it's not just one product here. There's multiple products. It's like a search listing page here where we can sort by different things and pricing is one of them. And another place where basically you have a lot of pricing. So it would make sense to call something in bulk and get the pricing. Now there's another thing like yes, here is a widget which is basically bestsellers. You see products which are different than the search results because these are driven by what you are searching for. These are based on recommendations. But if you see the concept is same, you have cards and you have pricing in it. And some do show like when does it arrive, the inventory based on the inventory. Here, pick up where to pick up. Some do not. So everywhere on the website you have pricing and multiple kind of pricing. It's a range you see like from 29.89 to 41.99 based on which variant you select. And then you have another kind of like curated widget which shows okay you shop this under $10, under $50. So the point is like pricing is used heavily everywhere, and it's important to have an architecture in place which retrieves the pricing and the inventory quickly so that these widgets everywhere they get all the information at once. So coming from like a someone who doesn't know e-commerce, how would someone design this? Is like okay, all these are somewhat like content, and it should be rendered as a search, just like you do a site search. So these come from the site, basically search provider you have, like Sitecore Search. So they should come from there. And it works. Yes, that is a basic architecture, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. But it makes sense that you have to like load so many information for a widget. It comes from search provider. And you have all these information already in search, crawled, or indexed somehow. And so it loads it at once. So let's look at that architecture first, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of that. So we have CMS here, like Sitecore, and then we have a commerce system like Order Cloud, any other Shopify, anything you want to use, which is responsible for basically add to cart and everything, holding your cart, order, integration with payment. So I'm not showing all that here, integration, but for basic information, like you have a CMS, you have a commerce system, and then you have the ERP, which is so it's another important thing here, like which system becomes the owner of the price and inventory. It's important to establish that. So could be ERP, could be the commerce system. Some places I've seen like it's in CMS. There's an override added in CMS. So depends on the project. So ultimately, like all these go to show up as content items depending on the project, and then goes to the edge. Now, what happens is the architecture we saw, like here, we want to retrieve this as a search widget. That means everything needs to go to search. How does it go to search? It goes via the delivery API. There's a webhook, and anytime there's a publish, it calculates the price and search. We cannot crawl it because the challenge here is it needs to be updated very frequently. The price may change anytime. So anytime there's a new publish, it will go in update search, and then the website will show the correct price. And you see, like the website is composing everything from all the like edge, search, and then showing that page. So there's a downfall here. Like, okay, this works for a system that does not update pricing too often, pricing or inventory. What happens if I need to change the price of all the products in my catalog at once? Like every product in my catalog. Let me go to like a website here. If I am on Target.com, they have like millions of SKUs. If I want to update price of each, maybe due to some surcharge that just got added, or something org-wide, they want to change everything under Halloween category to have some discounts. How would we do that? Because in our where we go? Yeah, in our uh, implementation, what we saw was this webhook is responsible for calculating the price and pushing the search. So everything changes here in the commerce system. All products have their price and inventory updated. It goes to either CMS or somewhere where to the edge, and it gets the webhook tries to now goes to the search. There's a function here, so everything will be bottlenecked here or here somewhere because there are millions of SKUs, and each item getting processed to update the price in the search, there'll be a huge backlog. So it doesn't work for a system that needs bulk update in pricing frequently. So this basically architecture does not support how to do bulk update if we have like a large number of SKUs, because it will be bottlenecked here and here because search has its own queue. You cannot just index everything right away. So what do we do then? Now let's take let's look at this architecture. This is an architecture that covers 80% of the use case where you want to have bulk inventory and updates to it. So what we did here is like basically we separated out pricing and inventory into its own microservice. Well, it works. Like, yes, there's an overhead to deploy and everything here. But what happens is sometimes the commerce system, depending on the commerce system, it may have its own APIs. So you can head can call it. But if it does not support the scale of queries we want to like achieve, you might want to extract it in its own microservice. So what happened here is like when I when I want to bulk update, I'm only do it in a database directly. All the bulk updates are going to database. There's no queue here. There's no queue for inventory as well. It gets updated directly. And this is a question I want to like how does data get in here in the first place? So it either you can modify your commerce system to read pricing and write pricing from here so that everyone writes here, or there's another copy of this basically pricing from here in this database. So it really depends on how you want to control it. If this system is the source, we need to know like anytime an update is made on pricing, it sends via webhooks to this database. That's I've not shown this connection. Or this common system can directly write to this database. It's basically a connector. So there are options. So anytime this is the source of truth, or this is the source of truth, depending where you are managing price, you directly write to this database anytime a price changes. Now, what happens is like, okay, the search is still there. You still need search because we have that requirement to do someone can search for a product. We are still going to put other details there, but when the website is rendering the UI like this data, image, name, everything comes from search, but then the front end is making call to the pricing engine to get the price. So what we achieved here is like it's near real-time pricing with the caveat that someone has to make that connection so that the source updates the database. And of course, there will be a layer of cache in between so that it's faster. Because if we had introduced Redis between DB and microservice, the request for any price will be like in milliseconds, and even in bulk if you do. So you go to search, get the products data, then you go to pricing service and get the price, and the head app is responsible for combining the data and showing the right price, basically a joining. So you take care of real-time pricing here, near real-time. And then we also want, so this scenario works well when you don't have sorting and drilling down on pricing like we saw here. So I'm going to talk about this next, like how we can do this. But let's go back and talk about this architecture one more. So we shifted the responsibility of the pricing from search to another microservice, and the head app, which could be like Next.js or .NET, anything hosted on Vercel or Netlify, anywhere on Azure, that is composing your experience. It is showing you the real price at the moment it has in the cache. And you can also add, like, anytime a DB gets updated, clear the cache for that SKU. So those are there, like read, write aside, write ahead, and policies you can set on caching so that the cache is always up to date whenever the database changes. So this is an aspect here that is new between this. So just to like clarify this, everything is coming from search, even the pricing. And that's why we have a bottleneck here. We can make infinite number of functions, but it has to go to search, which is a search provider, which is most likely going to queue it. If it has bulk, yes, but still, if you have 1 million SKUs, the bottleneck will be here. Now, what we do is like remove that dependency from search for pricing and inventory to a new microservice. And like I said before, how in real time you want this DB could be directly talking to this, but ultimately this service is responsible for getting the price on the website and showing the price. And yeah, so the head app here is totally in control of the price. Someone comes and update a million SKUs here because it's a SQL database optimized for reading. And once the insert is done, the updates are done, those will automatically start appearing in the cache after the based on a cache strategy, and the website will show immediately the price. There will be some latency, yes, but it's not gonna be like the one we had for this, which could be in hours because the bottleneck is here. Now we brought it down from like hours to like maybe in 1-2 minutes here, or maybe up to 5 minutes, which is acceptable for most business because they plan their pricing changes in advance and they can communicate well. Now, what happens if let me go back to the website here. What happens if I have, let me go to some of the categories here, new and featured, new arrivals. So yes, you have price here everywhere. Now, let's see if I go to fall decor here. So you can see like there's no filter or drill down here based on pricing. So our architecture that we built works perfectly here because there's no option to like drill down or show me less than in some range like $20 to $35. So this page definitely is like no brainer, those widgets. But if you scroll down here, what you see is price. So how will this work with our new architecture, because we are not pushing price to the search? And these are most likely like dynamic, so that when you select one, apply, it immediately filters it. And search, if you look from the search perspective, it's a filter. Basically, it should be driven by search. But when we talk about real-time pricing, this cannot be driven by search. So that's what I'm going to talk next. This works best if we have our first architecture, like everything is coming from search and all these are driven by search. So we have ranges defined in our search. Automatically, the provider provides you all these ranges. Now, and then you'll see like this sorting as well, sorting based on price high to low, low to high. How do we achieve this when we remove dependency from search for the pricing? So let's go back to our presentation. Okay. Here. So now what I did is, if you see here, I removed the microservice. What needs to happen is I'm making it more real time. First of all, I removed, so basically what I said is there's no microservice anymore, which you may find it like, yes, we always talk about separating the concerns, but again, at one point you have to decide you want to go anti-pattern or use the patterns defined that works may not work for you. So here there's no pricing service. What the head app is doing is directly calling the cache. If it's not in cache, calling the inventory database or pricing database and composing. So we even reduce the latency even further. And it's going directly to the cache. If it's not found, go to the database, which could be shared from the commerce system. So there's one database for pricing and inventory. Now, the head app goes and composes everything, which we gain some performance improvements here, but understand that there are some bottlenecks in this approach too, because every page you visit is going to make a call to this cache. So there will be some bandwidth limitation unless you're infinitely scaling your head app, which it should, but sometimes you'll hit that limit of how many requests it can make per minute to the cache. So there's some best practices over there too, which are well documented, but that's one thing to consider. Now coming back to our like how do we filter and sort? There is for any kind of filtering and sorting, you need that information in search. Okay, so now what we are saying is yes, we need the range defined in search, just like we have the name or description, name and description of the product, and there will be a price range for the product. So there's a difference. In the first approach where we saw this, we were putting the actual price in search. That product has this price. In this approach, we are putting whatever range we want to show on the website. The one we were showing here, we are putting it on the product. Like what is the range? Is it between 50 to 100, 25 to 50? So this is like more closely tied to the search, and that is one of the downfall. Like if you want real-time pricing, you have to like go and like compromise on some of the dynamic facets for search. So what we do is like, okay, we added a property on the search for each product. There's a new property called price range here, which will be like telling you like, okay, this falls in this range, this falls in this range, this falls in this range in this product, so that you can create those facets just like any other facet. And since most likely if a product price changes from 50 to 51 to 55, this range doesn't change. So on the website, it still works for you. The final price will still be displayed by the head app from this cache and database. So that's that's an important thing here, that these ranges have to be strategically computed and decided, like what should be the range. If you make it too small, 10 to 15 or maybe 14 to 15, that means anytime you update a price from 14.99 to 15.20, 15.99, though you have to go and update this price range on each product. So another like one thing to keep in mind is like these ranges do not have to be very small. They have to be like be able to absorb changes in price of, like here you can see it's like $50. You can have like up to $25 because whenever you change price in the catalog team doesn't change like too much. They change it by $1, $2 maximum. Sometimes they do by $1.50 depending on what the requirement is. So these ranges again are in search. So our regular process still runs, and then the final price is displayed here. So what happens if a product was in 0 to 50 and it moved from this to this range because the price changed from 49 to 51. So when someone filters this, it will show up. It will come back from search. Okay, it will that the product that was 49, which changed to 51, will come back from search. But on the website, I have 0 to 50. So it will go to the head app. Head app will say, okay, give me the price. The head app will say, okay, the price is this, but the range is this. I need to remove one product because this doesn't fit anymore. So there are ways to like make it smarter. But yeah, the logic is moving to the head app. So it really depends on the project. One size doesn't fit all. So one solution will not fit all. So these are the kind of discussions you need to have when you're designing the system in the headless world. And these have consequences, right? People people may be searching for like 100 or 200. Their range may be this, but sometimes it's $201. Some companies allow that to be surfaced here in this range because it's a rule. Like, why should we leave? There's a threshold of like maybe $1 or $2 more we'll show you, because are you going to leave that product if you like it for $2? No. So a lot of discussions need to happen, and based on that, the head app make that decision, and that's how you're going to index. All right. So now we started with this simple architecture that works very well, may work for like 60% of the light commerce sites. But then if your price and inventory is changing dynamically, you got to move to like either this, where if you don't show any price related facets or filtering or sorting, this works. I mean, it can still work. We can push to price facet and sorting here, but this price and this price won't match. Eventually it will match, but for some period it won't match, and you'll show the price for this one. But it may be okay for some enterprises. So really the devil is in the details, like how, when you talk about real time, do you talk about real time filtering also, real time sorting also? Because most of the time people don't use sorting on price and facet. They know they are looking for something specific, or they don't they don't want to use filter of price too, because they may miss some product. So they may set a big range of like, show me something from 100 to $200, which is their range. So it should be okay. Now, what we did is basically here, the document. So the search, when we show something on the search, is reading this. This is what we added, price range. That's a static It's not a dynamic facet like how we are used to in search provider. We are telling it, okay, you fall in this range. It's a regular facet, regular property. It's not like a facet which search automatically generates for you, because you mark it as faceted field. So while pushing it to the search here, you decide the range it falls in based on the price. And then you have that populated. And when you go to the website, when someone selects this, you automatically get this ID. Once you get this ID, you query the pricing from the head app. You query a database or cache for that ID. And so if there are like 10 IDs, you query it in bulk, and then you compose it here. So that's how, I mean, I have solved this problem for the customer I've worked for, and it's been working fine because these range don't change often. The prices remain in this range for most of the product when they change. Uh, and remember, it's not just increasing pricing. Sometimes they also reduce prices. So it works in both the cases. Now let's see here. What did we do? The search is still handling the query, like show me all products in this category. So we are going to search. Now, once the IDs are returned from search, we are going to the cache from the app, not from the microservice. So if you add microservice, there's a reason we'll add microservice. I'll talk in a bit. There's a reason you will need a microservice if you want to like infinitely scale. So, and you don't want to like, your database can't handle that much of load from the head app. So now what we did is that we got it from search. Went to the cache and added the pricing, joined it, and then we applied the exact filter what the customer wanted, and removed the products that are not matching the filters in the head app. So it's a hybrid approach. It does add some latency because search by default, if you do everything in search in the first approach we had, you don't have to do all of this. So it is adding to the latency, but that's the trade-off we have to discuss when we are designing these systems. So the trade-off here is yes, you want real-time or near real-time capability when an inventory or pricing is updated. And it does mean that your head app takes much more responsibility and becomes closely tied, coupled with some sort of like your backend. And is it, I mean, the cost of this versus not having the real price available is not justified. Like for some people, they can justify like, yes, we need this latency of additional like 500 milliseconds to save on not showing the correct price, because pricing is important. It's important to show them the correct price. If I am showing them the price from search always, there is a possibility that this there's a bottleneck here. Something is being still updated and the website is not showing that price and the inventory. So again, these are some of the things we talk during the design phase. And I've seen it. What I did was in this project, I started with this approach because the pricing changes wasn't anticipated for next 6 months. There were changes happening at like one SKU, two SKU, like every day, which is okay. This is being handled here, which is not a problem. No bottleneck. It's being handled. It goes to the search. And the turnaround time was like 15 minutes, and they were okay with that. Now, now they are being asking like, okay, how much more real time can we get? Because sometimes inventory is a problem. You can't wait for inventory to be not updated for 15 minutes, especially if it's like only one in stock. We don't want other people to buy it. So eventually they'll be stopped here by the commerce system because there's nothing in store. But why do we have to have them go through the add to cart and all that process when that product is not available? So this solves that problem, and it's more for customer satisfaction and building trust in the brand. Now let's go back here. Like, okay, now we talked about this. We merged the data. There's latency, yes, added because of real time. There are cases like if you're running a sale for just for only Black Friday, do you need to go and update your backend, like update the search, this filter that we added? I mean, it depends because for something like Black Friday, people usually don't use that price range. They based on analytics of your website, they found that on a Black Friday they don't use price range. What they do is they go by the if you go to this website, like they go by these banners here or a curated page like this, Black Friday. So something like this, like nowhere showing like it's showing trending, new, all that discount, but it's not showing the price. Like there's no way you can filter by price. And this is what many like online big retailers do. They don't show the price on these page on the Black Friday. They show the price when you go to the actual product. So that's one of the strategy they use, and which is basically in that case you don't have to update the index. You directly go to you directly go to the database here. So this is where you update the Black Friday price. And there are multiple strategies here. Like you can do snapshot, like this price starts tomorrow. So you can preempt it. And the head app just say, okay, give me the price today. So they have it there. So you don't have to place the price on that day. So update the price on that particular day. These can be like snapshotted and say, okay, from tomorrow, this is the price card. This is what you have to do. So that's what is basically driving. You gain some performance here for near real time, like not performance, you gain some trust near real time, but you gain some you add some network calls here, like for this and bulk and one here, and then in the head app is composing it, merging it. So, and do I really, when you're in like implementing something like Black Friday, do you really need to update this when the price is only for 2 days? No, I mean, most of the e-commerce website I've worked for, Black Friday, any promotions, they don't update the search index because, like I said, they go on the marketing is driven by they are being given a curated page of products and then they go and see the product's price on the details page. The details page is getting price from here. There's no filtering, no sorting. There are options you can do that, but d- again, that's a requirement for the business, and you have to discuss all that. Right. So now let's talk about like, yes, we talked about something. You don't have to index it. It's only client side. For permanent, yes, it's from tomorrow. This is the price going forward. You have to go and index it. And I mentioned like occasional inconsistency will be there because it may be in, it may be here, the updated price and inventory, but it's still making it way here. So the head app is still filter, but you may see it today, you may not see it tomorrow because of it was not indexed, it is getting indexed. But that's a trade-off a lot of people are okay with. All right, now let's see like what other scenarios are there. This is the price of the product, but we did see that. Let me open up the site from Walmart here. You see here, like it's showing from this price. So how did we get this price? So that is important because what it's doing is when you go here, it's taking the price of the lowest price item and putting it there. And then that's how, like, do you really need that updated? This could be like manual update if it's like once on like some Black Friday. So their option, like you can get this easily from just the pricing database. So you know this category, you know the products, all the products in this category, and then you make a call to the um, pricing cache, give me products for all these products, which is basically one call, and say, okay, pick the minimum price from there, and you show it here. Like again, so a lot of things involved here in pricing and inventory. So it does look simple from the outside, but when you get to near real time, it gets trickier. Same thing for bundles. Like you have a bundle which is maybe composed of 6, 7 items. If one item changes price, so you have to recalculate the price and put it in the database. You cannot do it at the runtime. So things like that. And so that brings me to the end of the session here. I I really want to emphasize that the role of DXP here is not just inventory in here because you see on the website you have a lot more information about the product, not just pricing. So DXP, a good DXP provides you a CMS system which has its own APIs for the pricing and inventory, like AutoCloud has, and it has its own caching too. And then it has like Sitecore Search. Sitecore has all of these capabilities. So the basis of this a good e-commerce website depends on a good DXP too, because people want to enrich product data with more content, images, videos, things like that. And those cannot be stored in commerce system. And ultimately, you need a good delivery API edge system where it's local to the region, and then search where you can query systems quickly in milliseconds. So again, one solution doesn't fit all. So you really have to like monitor, reflect, and explore, and then come on to like solution that works. You may have to break some patterns that is established as like industry, like I mentioned, like it's industry standard to use microservice. But what I did was basically, yes, I removed the microservice to remove the latency even more. The head app was actually going and getting the price. So it's all directly connected to DB. So it's anti-pattern, but it worked and it reduced the latency a lot. And there was cost here as well for the microservice. All right. Any questions?
Hey, Kautilya, thank you for this
Mhm.
insightful session. Wondering what does it take of like resource, time, and effort overhead to get this real-time uh, retrieval for the pricing opposed to the regular approaches?
Hmm. So that's a great question. There is considerable cost involved. Like I said, why did we move from pricing microservice to directly going to app? Is the cost. So when you add a microservice, they are operational cost. You have to maintain its CI/CD. You have to maintain a code repo. You have to have a team to monitor its performance. So those costs are here in this approach, in this near real-time approach. And then there is another cost of which is not in terms of real cost, but it comes like your head app needs to basically also scale up with the microservice because microservice, yes, it's gonna be fast, but your head app, sometimes you're seeing connection reset. Sometimes because the microservice was taking longer, it was scaling out by itself, so it took time to like spawn a new instance. It just was a bottleneck there because sometimes what happens in e-commerce, if a marketing is really successful, people will come to your website in like bulk. Like you'll get like you'll go from like 5,000 users to 25,000 in like seconds because they ran a successful marketing campaign. So that's where either you pre-warm it and pre-scale it out. So that's okay, but then there's a cost for it. But then that is the thing here, like you don't have that dependency here. The head app automatically does it for you based on the traffic. There's no dependency on a microservice. So we reduce on cost and CI and CD, but then we tightly coupled it as well. So yes, there is cost. This is more time microservice because you have to build both of these. But if you do it in the head app, then it saves time, but then you are tightly coupling it. Your head is basically what I'm saying. So there are pros and cons, cost versus how coupled they are, but one is faster, one is cheaper.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, Kautilya, sometimes there could be lot of business
Sorry, could you
logic
speak
in.
louder? We don't hear you well.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes there could be a lot of business logic involved, like as the number of uh, items increases, or if the price range
Hmm.
increases, there should be certain discount applied,
Yep.
or there could be some conditions like when the add-ons are added, the price changes, and there could be
Hmm.
some geolocation based like currency should be based on the location, and there could be like based on the user segmentation, the
Yeah.
pricing could vary. So all this business logic would be in the personalized engine, or there could be some of the it could be mix of all commerce system, CDP, and personalized engine.
So what I have done in this, whenever I've been given this requirement, they say, okay, based on user where they are, go give them this price. So if they buy five of this instead of three, you get this price. So all of those are actually actually in this database. So final price, the composed price that I have to provide is in the database. So let's say if you are buying five of something, you make a call, add to cart. Or first of all, you have to display on the website these ranges, right? If you buy two, you get this price, four, this price, six price. So that you can get from the database here using the microservice because those are pre-computed. You cannot compute it on the runtime. And how they are pre-computed, the catalog team is putting in those rules. So those are entered in commerce system. So this system, like let's say AutoCloud or something else, has defined those rules which are calculated and put in a database because you cannot compute it at runtime. Like you say, like you have some information here and you want to like give them discounts. So that's a discount thing. That's not a base price of the product, correct? So it may be like if you're in this region, let's say SoCal, you get this price. So that's a attribute on the price card in this database. Because when you're getting, the head app is getting the price to show on the website, it knows that it has to use that parameter, the region parameter. So for each region, there should be a price in the database. That's how we do it. We don't do it at runtime because that will be very expensive to calculate it at runtime and show it. Only the discounts can be calculated when they add to cart, and it cannot be like pre-calculated, user-based. If you want to show a pre-calculated one, then you need to have, for each permutation combination, you need to have an entry in this database. That's what your query will be from head app. Okay, give me the price for this region and for this promotion and for this, and that's how you get it. So you'll retrieve base price and you'll retrieve the discounted price to show the user.
Awesome. Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah, great. If there's no more questions, thank you, Kautilya. As usual, great presentation. And I really enjoy every time you join us to share some of your knowledge. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Right. In that case, I'm taking it here from you, and we're going to talk about Marketplace. Right. Hi, everyone, and welcome again. I am, as usual, thrilled to be here. And today we are going to talk about something that I believe is a true game changer for our Sitecore ecosystem, and that is our new Sitecore Marketplace. Being a long-time Sitecore developer and, of course, Sitecore MVP, I've been eagerly anticipating this functionality, and I'm excited to share that with you, what I learned through the early access program since the beginning of this year and my own experimentation. So over the next 30-60 minutes, we're going to take a deep dive into this world of marketplace application development. We also cover everything from the big picture concepts to the nitty-gritty technical details. My goal is for you to leave the session with a solid understanding of how to build your own application and extend the power of Sitecore with this new composable world. So let's get started. Jump in, let me tell you a little about myself. I've been working with Sitecore for 15 years, and I'm currently a Sitecore digital experience platform principal at Zone Digital. I'm a huge believer in the power of Sitecore ecosystem, and I'm especially excited about the direction it's heading with all this composable move. So today we are going to cover a lot of ground. We'll start with a high-level overview of the marketplace, then we jump into the architecture and some of integration patterns. After that, we'll get our hands and look at the practical steps for building an app. So finally, we will touch on some advanced topics and best practices that I've learned through my own development experience. So why would you be excited about Marketplace? Maybe because it's more than just the new future. It's a fundamental shift in how we extend a customized Sitecore. For years, we've been asking for the better way to integrate our own tools and solution into this composable platform without modifying the core code. And the Marketplace is Sitecore's answers to that. This is truly a game changer, as I think. And now I'm excited to show you what is it all about. What exactly is Sitecore Marketplace? Well, its core, it's a hub for discovering, building, and using applications that add new capabilities to Sitecore composable DXP products. Think of it like an app store for iPhone, but of course, inside of your XM Cloud instance. You can browse available apps, you can install them within just a few clicks, and immediately you can start using new functionality. And that is a huge deal because it addresses a long-standing gap in the Sitecore ecosystem. While other SaaS platforms have had their own marketplaces for maybe years, Sitecore developers has often had to build integrations from scratch customly. This meant This means reinventing the wheel from common needs like translation, web services, analytics, maybe some AI-powered content suggestion. And with new Marketplace, we can change that easily. Marketplace provides a standardized and secure way for extending this platform. So what makes it particularly exciting is that not just feature parity with our platforms, but Sitecore has actually introduced some innovation of its own, particularly in how these apps can be integrated into multiple touch points within the UI. So I'm going to show you that as well in a few minutes. Marketplace apps come in two flavors, custom and public. And let me explain the difference because it's important for your planning. Custom apps are what you are building for your own organization or maybe a specific client, because you can share that. You have full control over who can access and who can install these applications. This is perfect for building those business-specific customizations that we all know and love. Maybe you will need to integrate your company CRM system, which is proprietary, or you want to build a specialized content approval workflow. Whichever, custom apps are the way to go, and we are actually enabled to do that right now. It's already available. Public apps, on the other hand, will be available to everyone in the Sitecore Marketplace. This will go through a review process to ensure that this app meets Sitecore quality and security standards. Think of these apps as you would find in a public app store. While the public marketplace isn't available just yet at the moment, the infrastructure itself is in place, and Sitecore has indicated it coming soon, as you see on my screen. The important thing is to note is the ability to build and distribute custom apps is here already, as I said, and it's incredibly powerful. You can start building just today and delivering value to your organizations and clients straight away, right at this moment. So where do you start your journey as marketplace developer? Your starting point is the new developer studio. That one is located right in the Sitecore Cloud portal. So as soon as you log into a cloud portal, you'll see a new menu item for Developer Studio. This would be your central hub for creating, configuring, and managing your apps. When you create a new app, you'll be presented with a configuration screen where you'll define all the important details. You'll give your app a name, description, and upload logo. You'll choose where it should appear in the Sitecore UI by selecting from a list of extension points. And I'm going to talk more about that just in a moment. You will grant it access for specific APIs, of course, if you need it to function, and that is especially important for the security. Crucially, you'll provide the URL where the application is hosted. The last point is important because Sitecore does not host your marketplace app on your behalf. You yourself are responsible for hosting them, typically on a platform like Vercel, Netlify, or maybe Azure. This gives you entire control over your app infrastructure and the whole process of development, but it also means you need to think about hosting as a part of your development workflow. Now let's talk about some technical details. How does this all actually work under the hood? The core concept is surprisingly elegant. Your marketplace app is a standard web application, actually standalone application that runs in a sandboxed iframe within your Sitecore UI, as you see it on a picture page content frame. All communication between your app and Sitecore host application gets handled securely using browser post message API. This is crucial architectural decision because that ensures that your app can't directly interfere with the UI of Sitecore, which is essential for maintaining stability and security of the platform. So essentially, your app is completely isolated from Sitecore internal code. So now you might be thinking, oh no, I have to deal with post message and cross-region communication. The good news is that you don't. The Marketplace SDK handles that all for you. It provides a clean and type-safe interface that abstracts away the complexity of post-message communication. And you can simply call messages on the SDK client, and it handles all the messaging behind the scenes. This architecture also gives you tremendous flexibility. And because your app isn't just a web application, you can use any modern web framework. You want, like, it could be React, Vue, Svelte, so whatever runs Node.js, which you would prefer. And you are not vendor locked into any particular technology stack outside of Node. When you create a marketplace app, one of the first decisions you need to make is choosing between two architectural styles, whether it is client-side or full stack. And let me break down the differences and help you understand where to use each. A client-side app runs entirely in a browser. All of its communication within Sitecore is proxied through a browser. This is the simplest option, and it's perfect for building simple UI extensions, things like maybe custom field controls, dashboard widgets, context panels that display some sort of basic information. You are simply getting started with marketplace development, and because of that, I strongly recommend you start with the client side. It's much easier to set up, and it requires less of infrastructure. A full stack app, on the other hand, has both the client side and a server side components. It allows you to make direct server to server API calls to Sitecore, which is necessary for more complicated scenarios. Such example, if you are building an app that integrates with an AI service like OpenAI, which I'll show you later over this demo, and you'll want to keep your API keys secure on a server side. Or for example, if you're doing heavy data processing, you'll want to offload that work to a server rather than bogging down the user's browser. You also would use full stack app in that case. This trade-off is basically complexity of your app. Full stack apps require custom authorization setup, server infrastructure, and some more of moving parts. But for the right use case, they are incredibly powerful. Closely related to the choice of architecture is the choice of the authorization model. So let me explain the two options and when you would use each of them. Marketplace SDK provides a built-in authorization mechanism that handles everything for you automatically. So as a user, when you open the app, the SDK takes care of authenticating everything with Sitecore. It obtains necessary tokens, refresh those tokens as needed. It's simple, it's secure, and it's recommended approach for the most applications. So you literally don't have to write any authentication code yourself. It simply just works. However, if you're building a full stack app and need to make server-side API calls, you need to use custom authorization, which involves integrating Auth0, which is Sitecore identity provider. You'll need to set up custom DNS for local development, create client credentials in your app, configuration, manage authentication flow yourself across regions. This SDK provides experimental tooling to help you with all of that, but it's definitely way more complex. One important consideration with the custom authorization is if you're making your app available to multiple organizations, you need to handle session validation properly. It's like when a user switches from one organization to another, you need to prompt them to log in again. Otherwise, they will get 401 error, which is unauthorized because their token is for their own organization. So what is my advice? Start with built-in authorization. Get comfortable with the basics of marketplace development, and then while you have use case that truly requires server-side API, you can level up your custom authorization. One of the most exciting aspects of marketplace for me personally is the ability to choose where your app appears on Sitecore UI. And these are called extension points. There are 5 to choose from at the moment. And let me walk you through each of these. First, you have standalone extension point in your cloud portal. This is for applications that live outside of XM Cloud itself. That's the most simple one. They appear on a cloud portal homepage and open in a new tab, like you see here. This is great for administrative tool, maybe some full page applications. Next, we have XM Cloud full screen application extension point. These are listed in the apps drop down in XM Cloud and appear as a full screen under the navigation header. This is ideal for things like your application homepage or authentication screens. My favorite is Page Builder Context Panel, and that's where things get really interesting. These apps appear in the panel left-hand side of the canvas for the page builder, which is perfect for tools like when you want to extend page level settings, or maybe display some contextual information based on the currently selected page. Like imagine a real-time SEO analyzer, maybe third-party analytics dashboard that updates while you edit the page. And I'm going to show you my own extension exactly using Page Builder Context Panel for similar purpose later during this demo. Another interesting is custom fields. So that's a very powerful extension point. These type of applications appear in a model when a user clicks Open App on a custom field you have added to a content item or a page. This is ideal for loading third-party data, things like icon, libraries, gradient, color pickers, or any other data from external source which you want to display as a custom field. This is something I'm also going to show you as a part of a demo. Finally, dashboard widgets, they do appear on Exam Cloud site dashboard. I'm going to show that as well. Users can drag them right onto the dashboard to see site-wide performance metrics like bounce rates, popular pages, or conversion funnels. I use it for different purpose. I use it for the settings. And again, I'm going to show you that as well. Regardless of that, the key insight here is that you can build one application and choose multiple extension points for that application. This allows you to create a cohesive user experience that meets users where exactly they are in their workflows. Okay, enough with the theory and let's get practical. How do you actually build one of these things? The good news is that it's surprisingly easy to get started. There is official documentation and it has 5-minute quick start guide that will have you up and running in no time. It's simple 5-step process. First, create Next.js or Byte application using a standard creation command. I personally prefer Next.js for the full stack apps, and I also use Byte for very simple basic client-side apps, but either would work great for you. Second, you need to install SDK packages. Client one is the one that you'll always need. You always need this package, and you'll want the XMC package if you're planning to interact with the APIs, of course. So third, copy use marketplace client hook. This is the code from the official documentation. That is a custom React hook that handles initialization of the SDK client. The documentation provides the full code, so you can just copy and paste it into a project with no effort. Fourth, you need to initialize the marketplace client in your app by importing using that hook in your components. Finally, fifth, you just start coding, run your development server, start building your app functionality. Here is also a pro tip. If you want to jumpstart your development with a full stack template that includes server-side API routes and authentication, you probably would want to use Block Shatsy and Quick Start. This single command, as you see at the bottom here, it will scaffold the complete marketplace app for you with the boilerplate code, which is already in place. So it's a huge time saver. Marketplace SDK is at the heart of app development. So let's take closer to look what it provides. The SDK is split into 2 main packages, each serving a specific purpose. The client package is required for all marketplace apps. It's the foundation that handles secure communication between your app and the Sitecore host. It provides the use marketplace client hook that you'll use to initialize the SDK and your React components. It also manages authentication and authorization automatically. You don't have to worry about tokens or sessions. And it offers a clean interface for making queries, mutations, and subscriptions. The XMC package is optional, but highly recommended if you're working with XM Cloud. This package provides a set of type-safe interfaces for interacting with the APIs of XM Cloud. So you get full TypeScript IntelliSense, you have compile time check-in, and when you're querying or mutating Sitecore data, you have it all. The package also includes predefined queries and mutations for the common operations like listing sites, getting page information, creating items, and much more. The good news, it works on both client side and server side, so that you can use it in your next API routes if you're building a full stack app. SDK capabilities can be summarized in the three main areas. First is queries for retrieving data, mutations for changing data, and subscriptions for receiving real-time updates. Basically, all you can do is GraphQL. Plus, you get easy access to context information, which shows you what you need to know about your current application and the environment. Right, so as I said, SDK provides a simple and consistent interface for interacting with Sitecore APIs. Let me show you the three main types of operations you will be using. First of all, queries. These are for reading the data from Sitecore. You use the client.query method with a query name and optional parameters. The SDK provides a set of predefined queries for common operations. So, for example, you can query the application context to get information about your app. You can list all sites in the current organization. You can get information about the current page if you are in a page builder. The next one goes mutations. These are for writing data back to Sitecore, basically CRUD operations. You use the client.mutate method with a mutation name and the required parameters. SDK provides mutations for creating, updating, deleting items, templates, or whichever you have in Sitecore, any other objects. In this example, we're creating a template, then creating an item based on that template, and then deleting an item. Finally, subscriptions. These allow you to retrieve real-time updates as the data changes in Sitecore. This is particularly useful in the page builder, where you might want to update your application UI when the user navigates to a different page or changes the page's properties. For that, you're going to use the client.subscribe method with the event name and a callback function. All of these operations are synchronous. They return promises. So for all of them, you have to use async await syntax for a clean, reliable code. And because the SDK provides TypeScript definition, you get the full IntelliSense for all the query mutation names and their parameters. Next, we go to context management. And I want to say understanding context is crucial for building effective marketplace apps. There are two types of context you need to be aware. One is application itself, and the second is pages context. Application context is available everywhere, regardless of which extension point your app is using. It gives you information about the current tenant, environment, user, and organization. There is the context. You'll need to understand who is using your app and in what environment, actually. For example, you might want to display some features based on whether the user is in a production or test environment, and that's exactly what you can use this application context for. On the other hand, pages context is only available when your application is running in a page builder. This one gives you information about the current page, site language, and version. This is incredibly powerful because it allows you to build apps that are contextually aware of what the user is editing. As a good example, you can use and build SEO analyzer that looks at the current page context, provide real-time suggestions. There's one important best practice initialize your SDK conditionally based on the extension point you are using. If your app is designed to work in multiple extension points, you need to handle the case where pages context might not be available. And if your app supports multiple organizations, multi-tenant in other words, make sure you can handle context switching gracefully when a user switches from one organization to another. When you need to perform more complicated operations like integrating with a third-party service, performing heavy data processing, or keeping API keys secure, you will want to use a full-stack architecture. The Next.js app router is perfect for this particular type of scenarios. So with Next.js, you can create server-side API routes, and these routes run on your server rather than in a user browser. These routes can use experimental underscore create XMC client function, which you see here, to create a server-side XMC client that makes secure server-to-server API called Sitecore. I believe this name will get changed with time when it no longer becomes experimental, but let's see how it goes. Currently, it's named what it's named. So let me walk you through this code example. This is a Next.js API route that lists the languages for a given site. First, we extract the context ID from the query parameters and the access token from the authorization header. Both of these are required for making API calls to Sitecore. Next, we create XMC client using experimental create XMC client. We pass it a function that returns the access token. This token is what authenticates our server with Sitecore. Then we make API call to list languages passing the context ID. If this call succeeds, we return the languages as a JSON, and in case it fails, we return an error with the appropriate status code. This pattern of creating API routes on your server is incredibly powerful, and that's because it allows you to keep sensitive data like API keys secure. You can perform some complicated business logic. You can integrate with external services without exposing those integrations to the client. And to make this even easier, the blog Shadcyan Quick Start I mentioned earlier includes the examples of these server-side API routes, so you can see the full pattern in action. And speaking about Shadcyan, of course, you want your app to look good and feel like a natural part of Sitecore UI, don't you? That's where design system come in. Let me tell you about the options. You can use Sitecore Block and Shadcyan. Sitecore Block is the official system for Sitecore product ecosystem. This one provides a set of reusable React components which are designed to match and look and feel of the Sitecore UI. You use Block, and then your app will automatically look like it belongs to Sitecore. The components are accessible, they are responsive, they are professional designed, and as a plus, using Block reduces your maintenance overhead because Sitecore maintains this component library on your behalf. Shadcyan UI is the popular alternative to the React ecosystem. It's a collection of beautifully designed components built on Redux UI, and it also uses Tailwind CSS. The unique thing about Shadcyan is that it's not traditional component library, but no, instead you copy component code directly into your project, which gives you full control over this customization. Now here where it gets interesting. The block Shadcyan registry that I mentioned a few times provides components that bridge these two worlds. You can use Block for the core Sitecore specific components, and you can use Shadcyan UI for more general UI elements. These give you the best of both worlds: consistency with Sitecore design language and flexibility of a modern component library. So what's my recommendation would be? If you are building an app that needs to feel like a seamless part of Sitecore, of course you use Block. If you are building something more custom or branded, consider Shadcyan UI. And if you are not sure, start with Block. You can always add Shadcyan components later, just when you need them. Let me share some of best practices which I learned through my own development experience and from talking with other participants of Early Access program. First, always use local development with hot reload. That's when you develop a new app, you set development URL in the development studio to your local development server, like HTTPS, localhost 3000, and or maybe port 5173 if you use Vite. This means your changes will appear instantly in Sitecore right without having to redeploy. That is, in my opinion, a huge time saver, and that makes development cycle way much faster. The second thing is you'll need to use self-site SSL certificates for local development because Sitecore requires HTTPS for Vite projects. I recommend Vite plugin MKCert plugin. For Next.js use, you can use MKCert tool directly, or you can use experimental HTTPS as I showed here. You set it in the packages JSON, and that starts your Next.js server right with HTTPS. The third thing is start simple and bring the complexity gradually. You can begin with a client-side architecture and some sort of built-in authorization. Just get your app working in the simplest possible way first. And then when you have a use case that truly requires server-side logic or custom authorization, then in that case, you can add complexity. And my advice is don't over-engineer from the start. Okay, next, it's pretty obvious, but leverage TypeScript. There is a reason why it's there. SDK provides full TypeScript definitions, and that means you get IntelliSense for your IDE. It also catches errors right at compile time. Yes, I know sometimes it's annoying, but you have to stick with TypeScript. This makes development much more pleasant, and that reduces bugs. Fifth, handle errors gracefully. Always check for is-initialized flag before making API calls. Also provide user-friendly error messages rather than some sort of technical jargon. And of course, log errors to the console for debugging. Last but not least, test in multiple environments. This one particular hit me hard. I learned that hard way. Test your app in different organizations with different user permissions and in different extension points. This one will help you catch edge cases, and it will ensure your app works reliably for all users. Okay, since Sitecore doesn't host your marketplace app, you need to choose hosting platform. You host your platform by yourself. Let me walk you through the most popular options. It goes without saying, Vercel is my top recommendation, especially if you are using Next.js. Then Vercel is actually the company behind Next.js, so integration is seamless. You get automatic deployments from Git. You have built SSL certificates. Of course, Vercel is a global edge network for performance. There is a generous free tier that's perfect for you to get started. Another excellent option, of course, you guess it, Netlify, particular for sites that are wide-based applications. And like Vercel, it offers automatic deployments, SSL, serverless function support, and the developer experience with Netlify is fantastic. If you already invested in Asia ecosystem, that could be another great choice. It integrates well with other Asia services. It has built-in authentication options. Asia also provides global CDN. Maybe have some custom hosting in mind. The deployment workflow is straightforward with any of these platforms. You basically push the code to Git repository. You connect the repository to your hosting platform, configure build settings, and then you deploy. Once it's deployed, you update the deployment URL in Deployment Studio so that it points to your production URL. And also don't forget to manage your environmental settings. There are a few important considerations. Okay, one, make sure course is configured correctly. So Your app can communicate with Sitecore courses, cross-region sources. Use environment variables for any sensitive data like API keys. Set up monitoring and error tracking so that you know if something goes wrong. Plan for scaling. If your app becomes popular, then through the platform I mentioned, handle this automatically. You can do that. Now let's take a look at live demo of a real world example, which is icon picker custom field. You can actually make this app right now yourself. It's open source. It's available on GitHub. And this app solves quite a common problem. How do you let content editors to select an icon from a large icon library without having to remember icon names or codes? This icon picker provides a visual interface for browsing, selecting icons. It uses Material UI icon library that itself has, I think, 10K of icons. Icons are organized by the categories like actions, business, communications, and so on. Doesn't matter. Content editors can browse by the category or use the search functionality to find specific icon. When they find the icon, then what they want, they click. Then they click Save button, selected icon, then is stored in the Sitecore field because it's custom field extension. Yes, this why it's a perfect example of Sitecore custom field extension point. Right in action. The app appears in a modal when the content editor clicks open up. It provides a rich interactive interface for selecting data that wouldn't be possible with a standard text field. Text stack is simple. It uses Vite for the build tool, React for the UI, TypeScript for type safety, and of course, Material UI icon library for all this icon data. Marketplace SDK handles all the integrations with Sitecore. I'm going into Developer Studio. Here, all the apps I have installed here. As I remember, this is custom field. It goes first. Right here, I see only one extension point is available for custom field. Basically, it uses the home route. We don't need anything complicated here. The app itself is deployed to Vercel. We can actually open it. You also provide logo, and that is how it is configured. Right, let's go to Pages Builder. Because my session has expired, I'm going to refresh this page. I use this rich text template to extend it with an extra field. When we're dealing with the custom fields, there is one extra step we have to do. So we go to Content Editor. Here's my site. Let's go to the template. The thing I've done here is I added this icon picker field, but the most interesting is here. Look at the type of this field. So we now have these marketplace types here with the single available option called plugin. You get this plugin, and you also provide the source ID for this marketplace app. Here's where you can copy it from. So this is custom field. This is F5AB. You copy it from here. Go and paste it here. You go back to Pages Editor. That's our field. With rich text, go to field itself. And boom, here is icon picker, custom field extension. There is open up button. We open this button, and that's where our custom interface is loaded from Vercel in this particular case. I can use any icon, like mobile. Boom. I choose it, I save it. So there's no preview here. And what happens is under the hood, it still keeps the value, but you also need to do a couple additional steps to see your selected icon here on the page. You need to go to the TSX file and also add some code to display this value from this field. So this demonstrates the key benefit of the marketplace. You can provide specialized input controls. Those controls extend beyond the standard Sitecore field types. Again, richer, more user-friendly, better authoring experience. Now I'm going to demonstrate you the other tool that I was actually building myself. It's called AO and Geo validation tool. So first of all, what is AO and Geo abbreviation? AO is answer engine optimization, and Geo stands for generative engine optimization. So what do we use this tool for? Content editors want to enhance their page with generative engine optimization information. This works with schema.org, and generally think of that as the engine. People these days, people go to LLMs, to these tools like ChatGPT in first place. In most cases, they don't even navigate to the actual website, and they get the answers from LLMs. So what do websites want to do in order to increase their chances of being presented in these LLMs, or increase the chance for actual users jumping through the link from LLM? They want to kind of trick the system and generate as much meaningful content as possible. Let me show you that tool in action. I'm going to show you from my local development, so that might be a little bit slow. When I show it from production, from Vercel, it of course works way faster. So now I run this up on HTTPS local host 3000. Again, as you see, I'm using this experimental HTTPS. Okay. Before I start, let's take a look at the development studio. Here's my Geo agent in this studio. And this app actually has two extension points. So one of the extension points is for the page context panel, so that it displays left-hand side from the page builder canvas and gets all the relevant context information. And I also have certain settings in my app, so I'm using dashboard widget to make the settings there. Okay. Also, in addition to Developer Studio, we have my Apps tab. This is where you see all your application installed, and that's where you align these apps with the specific tenants and environments. Now let's go to the Pages Builder. We got this page. I'll probably go to this page called test, so that I don't load the home page of this site. Okay, this is a footer. There's video component, there's another video component. So nicely looking modern page. Now we have these two things. This is one slider that shows you extension points here. For example, this side panel. We also have side dashboard that brings you to the settings, and this is where I have another extension point. So let's run this first. Currently, I want to give it any topic. For example, my topic is Scotch whiskey. And then I want to give it some specific instructions. For example, it will go to an API that returns frequently asked questions about this topic. So what people generally ask about Scotch whiskey. This app goes there, gets these questions, and then you have additional instruction prompt, which you can type in these instructions for the app to generate the answer. So I want to kind of generate the answers that are brand aware. For example, I want something related to my particular organization, and making these additional instructions, it will generate these answers with a flavor of my company. And as soon as it generates the answers, I will add this component down to the page in the shape of frequently asked questions. But the purpose of that is when the LLM comes to this page and parse this page, it will get these particular questions and answers. And because it reflects the commonly asked questions, it will process them appropriately. And the answers I'm providing, they are bringing the favor to my particular brand. So this is how I am manipulating the content of external LLM that can generate responses to their visitors with the favor of my particular brand. Like, I can basically type it anything, but okay, I can even skip it. It's optional. Let's do it. It's simple. Generate question answers. Okay. It says Open API key is not configured. To make this happen, I'll show you another extension point. Now, for this purpose, I go to the site dashboard. This is a typical dashboard. You have A/B tests here, you have some analytics, whatever. But you can also have customized button here for you to bring custom sections here. And this is GeoAgent section is effectively my extension point for dashboard. So they were displayed in all these widgets list. I actually drag drop it here, and that's how I got it. You can round. So as soon as I bring this here, I go back to the dashboard, and it shows up here. In this particular case, I can save my MCP key because I'm using also Sitecore MCP, which is experimental at this point. I'm also using my Open API key, all the type of things. I'm not going to show you the keys for the safety purposes, so I save the settings. It should get applied. Imagine I'm a new user, come in here, provide all these values, and then I go back to the page builder. Let's load the page, and then go to test page here. Take a look at the page. Nicely built page with 2 video components. Then I'm going to run the app itself. Something like that, generate. Again, it makes a chain of queries to different endpoints and LLMs as well. So LLM itself is not the fastest one. And I'm using GPT-4 for this particular one. So maybe if I switch to GPT-5 Nano, it will be faster. And of course, in production, it will be faster. Let's add to the page. And we actually added this component to a page. Here's a confirmation. Let's scroll down. And this is our rich text. This is my question, which I clicked here. And that's the answer. And it disappeared from here. So that demonstrates this app actually works, even despite it's still under development. So there's lots of things for me to check about. So I can add as many of these questions here to the page. And once AI comes to parse and digest this page, whichever content was generated here in the format of Q&A, it will get absorbed by this AI, and it will affect the way it responds. Maybe I can also do add these components in a hidden manner by adding a checkbox, so that if I don't want to have these components on the page visually, I can still have them like visual in a sort of collapser, not visible part, but they still will be parsed and they will still affect the response of the LLM. And potentially that will also have a link to the site of origin, which is our site here. The other thing here is GEO, and again, we can provide the optional prompt. What GEO does, we now have this page, and this page is coming from CM, so it's not published page. The content is not coming from Experience Edge, the content is coming from GraphQL endpoint running on CM. So it's before we actually publish this page. What I want here to do is I want to take HTML of this page entirely as it sits for now and analyze this HTML for, let's say, geo practices. I can also make some optional prompt here, which let's do that. Let it be something like open this page, parse its content, validate against best geo practices. Simple as that. Okay, we now get this streaming response. This is the raw output from the LLM in a streaming nature. It's interesting. Once I get this raw response showed here for the diagnostical purposes, I will remove it in the release version of this app. But it returns me lots of advice, and this advice are grouped in this sort of cards. So for example, this one says that I have to add proper locale regions signaling wrap-lang to the page. So what happened, it took the HTML of this page under the edit, and that was a specific task, because you remember my application works as an iframe here, and Marketplace app, they operate in a very strict course conditions. You have to be kind of inventive to find ways how you can access other parts, but I already mentioned that in the beginning of the presentation. So maybe I will add below, I will add the link to this specific advice or whatever, but currently it gives me all these best practices and things I must want to improve in this page for it to be better consumed by LLMs. So this is it, kind of application, a good practical example. And another thing is that this application uses two extension points at the same time. One was for this site context panel, and another is for this dashboard. And again, because I have lots of this sensitive type of information like keys, everything, I operate in a full stack manner. So I cannot do that client side entirely, because if I do it client side, these values may leak from the browser, and that's safety concerns. That was my demo, and let's go ahead. Before we wrap up, let's talk about the future of the marketplace. What is coming next? Obviously, the most anticipated thing that is coming would be the public marketplace. It will allow us to publish applications that are available to all Sitecore customers. There will be, of course, a quality review process to ensure that all these apps meet Sitecore standards. Users will be able to browse and to discover applications. They can read ratings, reviews. They will be able to install this app in a few clicks. There will be even a potential for monetization. However, Sitecore hasn't announced the details about that yet, but what I remember half a year ago, there was some narrative about demonetization from the Sitecore. Another exciting development is the expanded product support. For the moment, the marketplace is focused for the XM Cloud, but again, Sitecore has indicated that it will expand for other products. You will be able to build for Content Hub, CDP, personalize, maybe for Sitecore Sound. They will bring more and more extension points. This will definitely create unified application ecosystem across the whole entire site family platform. We can also expect some new extension points in the future, and Sitecore is actively gathering feedback from all of us who are early access participants about what additional UI locations would be valuable. And their goal is to provide more granular control and enhanced options for the customization. And I think SDK itself will continue to evolve with more queries that are predefined for now, more mutations, better TypeScript support. I really want to see better performance optimization, documentation, of course, last not the least. It will get also expanded. Sitecore will be committed to making developer experience as smooth as is only possible. And the big picture here is that marketplace is a key concept of Sitecore composable DXP strategy for today. Marketplace enables rich ecosystem of integrations and customizations that make Sitecore more flexible and powerful. So without doubt, this is the future of the platform, and we are just getting started. Let's wrap up with the key takeaways I want you to remember from this session. Firstly, the marketplace's strategic shift, not just a new feature. It's fundamental change. It dictates how we extend and customize Sitecore. It puts Sitecore on par with other leading SaaS platforms. It enables rich ecosystem of integrations. All that will benefit the entire community. The second thing, the developer experience is excellent already. I know there are lots of things to improve, but even what we get so far, it's pretty amazing. They have done a great job with SDK, really good documentation. The overall developer workflow is pretty good. In its modern, well-designed, and pleasure to work manner, makes you jump and start developing marketplace apps like in 5 minutes. You can start building today. Nothing stops you. Custom apps available straight away. The community is getting bigger and bigger. If you are on Sitecore Slack, there is a special channel for marketplace recently appeared. There's lots of people like myself sharing and asking the questions there. I will also recommend you to take a look at the open source marketplace starter. Let me show you the URL. I think I have it open in the browser here. So it's Sitecore repository, marketplace starter. All 5 extension points are at your service. Nice documentation. You literally get it started in a couple minutes and you get it working. The next thing is that the choice of architecture actually does matter. You would start simple with the client-side architecture. You use built-in authorization. Once you get comfortable with basics, then you would increase your levels, and if you have a use case that requires more complexity, you can start adding server-side logic and apply custom authorization. Of course, choose the right extension point for your case. You need to think wisely about where your users want to access your app and its functionality. Finally, the future of marketplace is bright. The public marketplace is coming soon. It will open up new opportunities for sharing, discovering apps. Sitecore is expanding support to other products in the DXP. This is exciting time to be a Sitecore developer. That is it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Martin. It was a really good session. I have one quick question here. So, for each of the custom fields or the extensions that we do, um, should we host that in Vercel or somewhere to get the fields back, or is it something that we can combine all this into one single app and then extend it?
The app architecture actually dictates what you want to do. I demonstrated you the app that has 2 extension points straight away. I use dashboard for collecting the user input of settings, and I'm using the side bar panel, context panel for actually doing the business of this application, using that settings that are coming from the dashboard. In my case, that was reasonable. For example, if you use a standalone application that executes only in the context of the application itself, so it does not relate to any of your Sitecore environments. So I don't know what you combine this application with. It probably will be exclusively standalone. But if you combine Sitecore environment aware application, you definitely can do that. Again, if you have the business need to.
Okay.
You can combine custom fields with other types. The only drawback for now is that you cannot have multiple extension points of the same type. So you cannot have 2 custom fields within a single application. This is a known limitation. Sitecore knows about that. They captured our feedback, and sooner or later they will release the solution to that problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, from the marketplace, we need multiple applications, but from the Versal, we can use the single hosting with a different URL to each of the field type, right?
Okay, let me show you the settings again. On Vercel, you have basically the deployment point. So you have URL, and it will be HTTPS. And this URL you set up here. You go to Developer Studio, select your application, and set this URL here. You remember when I showed the custom icon picker, there was Vercel HTTPS URL here. So that one was.
Martin, are you
So,
sharing the screen? We are not able to see the screen.
oh yeah, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Yes. Let me do that. So here is deployment URL. Here you provide your Vercel domain hostname. Save it. I'm using localhost because I'm actually developing it right from here. This is my developer console. But on your Vercel, as I have it here, you can deploy multiple extension points. So here I have dashboard and I have context panel for the pages up here. I cannot have multiple dashboards, or if I want to have custom field, I cannot have multiple custom fields within the same application for now. But hopefully that will be resolved later. The answer is yes, but with some sort of limitations. Yes, there is a comment about e-learning model, something I wanted to add to my slides. It happened today on LinkedIn. They shared that there is an e-learning model available for developers who want to study how to build application with Marketplace. However, the link they shared, they didn't feature any of these e-learning models. So the link provided, you open, you see old, good XM Cloud training courses, but nothing about the Marketplace. Probably it's not yet appeared there, or maybe it's available for a specific set of users and it didn't work for my login, but I got what I've got. Other people on LinkedIn left the similar comments. Right, any more questions? Okay, thank you very much. Let's call it a day. And I hope you start building great marketplace apps and share with all of us. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.